With the 2023 NHL entry draft just around the corner, I decided I would do what I do best, and that is dwell on the past. I wanted to go ahead and take a look back at previous Coyotes drafts, starting with the one that started it all, the 1996 NHL draft. We'll go ahead and start off with the first player the Coyotes ever drafted, and that was with the 11th overall selection of the 1996 NHL entry draft. The Phoenix Coyotes selected defenseman Dan Vogt. Vogt would only play in a total of 18 games for the Phoenix Coyotes before on March 11, 2003, he would be traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins alongside a couple of other players in exchange for a package including Jan Hrdina. Hrdina would play in 54 games for the Coyotes, scoring 11 goals and 19 assists for 30 points, before being traded to the New Jersey Devils on March 5, 2004 for Mike Rupp and a second-round pick. Moving on from arguably the biggest draft bust in Coyotes history to one of the best picks they ever made, with the 24th overall selection in the 1996 NHL entry draft, the Phoenix Coyotes selected Daniel Briere. As a member of the Phoenix Coyotes, Daniel Briere would play in 258 games, scoring 70 goals and 76 assists for 146 points. Then on March 10, 2003, the Arizona Coyotes would pull the trigger on one of the worst, if not the worst, trades in franchise history, trading Daniel Briere to Buffalo in exchange for Chris Stratton. There's a little bit more to that deal, but we will talk about that another day. Moving on to the third round, 62nd overall, the Phoenix Coyotes would select defenseman Per-Anton Lundstrom, who played in 0 NHL games. Moving along to the fifth round, 119th overall, the Phoenix Coyotes selected defenseman Richard Lintner. Funny enough, Lintner actually never played for the Coyotes because on December 31st, 1998, he was traded to Nashville alongside Cliff Ronning for future considerations. He would go on to play in 112 NHL games, scoring 8 goals and 12 assists for 20 points. Not the longest NHL career, but certainly more than the Coyotes' 11th overall selection. We move on to the 6th round, 139th overall, where the Phoenix Coyotes would select goaltender Robert Esche. Esche would play in 58 games for the Phoenix Coyotes, posting an 18-24-6 record, a .297 goals against, and an .897 save percentage, also adding 3 assists. Then on June 12, 2002, Esche would be traded alongside Michael Handzus to the Philadelphia Flyers in exchange for goaltender Brian Boucher and a 2002 third. Boucher would go on to, just set the NHL record for a shutout streak, 332 minutes and 1 second in 2003-2004. On February 1st, 2006, Boucher would be dealt to Carolina in exchange for Steven Reinprecht. That is right. Boucher is the reason Rhino came to Phoenix. There's more to that deal as well, but honestly, I just wanted to mention Steven Reinprecht. We move on to the 7th round, 174th overall, where the Phoenix Coyotes selected forward Trevor Letowski. Letowski would play in 206 games for the Coyotes, scoring 30 goals and 43 assists for 73 points. Letowski was a legitimately good bottom sixer who unironically was one of the best players the Coyotes picked in the 96 draft. Letowski would be traded to Vancouver in December of 2001, but honestly, Phoenix really didn't get anything interesting back, but unironically, one of the best picks the Coyotes had in that draft. Next up, 8th round, 200th overall, the Phoenix Coyotes selected forward Nick Lent, who never played in the NHL and I can't even find a picture for. And finally, 9th round, 226th overall, the Phoenix Coyotes selected forward Marc-Etienne Hubert. I really hope I pronounced that name right. Couldn't even find a confirmed picture of him playing, but he does seem to be coaching in a university in Quebec, so there you go. Hubert would never play in the NHL, but 9th round pick, I can't be mad about that. And those were the selections the Phoenix Coyotes made in the 1996 NHL entry draft. And if you take away Daniel Briere, the best player the Coyotes drafted was Trevor Letowski. If I were to rank them, it goes number 1, Daniel Briere, number 2, Trevor Letowski, number 3, Robert Esche, who was a legitimately decent NHL goaltender, number 4, Richard Lintner, and number 5, Dan Vogt. Out of all the draft picks in the 1996 NHL entry draft, the Phoenix Coyotes got a total of 540 games played, 100 goals scored, 122 assists for 222 points, and 18 wins from the goaltender. If I had to grade the draft picks, Daniel Briere, 100% A+, phenomenal pick. Terrible trade, but a phenomenal pick by the Phoenix Coyotes. Next up, Trevor Letowski and Robert Esche. I have to give a C. Obviously, those are lower draft picks. They also were pretty decent NHL players, and they did get some value out of them when they traded them. Those were solid picks. Of the other 5 players the Coyotes drafted, I had to give 4 of those picks an F, while 2 of them were the last 2 picks as an F or a not available, but Vogt and Lundstrom were misses. I did give the Lentler pick a D because he at least did play a decent amount in the NHL, but even then you're kind of stretching it a little bit. I did go back and forth with this, but overall if I were to grade the 1996 draft for the Coyotes, I have to give it a D+. There were some notable draft misses as well. For example, Dan Vogt selected 11th overall, Derek Morris went 13th overall. That would have been a much better defenseman to take, and he ended up playing for the Coyotes anyway. They picked Lundstrom 62nd overall. I looked down the list. Oleg Kavasha at 65th would have at least played some NHL games. And at 96th overall, another future Coyote, Eric Belanger. Trevor Letowski at 174th. I guess at 179th you could have picked Pavel Kavina, but honestly, I like Trevor Letowski, so I honestly just threw it on there to mention it. But that's all I got for the 1996 NHL entry draft. The Arizona Coyotes certainly did not put their best foot forward, did not make a very good first impression, and if anything, they set the tone for the vast majority of their drafts moving forward, because the Arizona Coyotes historically have not drafted well, and it started all the way back in 1996.